welcome to the Stateside Soccer Show. My name is Jordan. With me, as always, is Logan. How are you today, Logan?
Oh, I'm not frozen anymore, so that's good. For some reason, right? I don't know what it's been the last year that I've had this laptop. I've gotten closer and closer to upgrading to something else because it just freezes all the time. I don't know what is the deal. Like when I turn on the computer. So I am back, Jordan. We are back. It was a really busy weekend for me, and I did get to catch up on some MLS stuff though. As I was standing in line for different things, I was reading different things off of X. I was watching highlights, kind of following along with the action, and now I spent all morning looking up all sorts of different things, what's happening in the league, kind of catching myself up because there's not often weekends where I completely miss all the action, but this weekend was I was at Halloween Horror Nights, so I wasn't watching any of the games. So
Are you going back today?
no.
Okay.
So Horror Nights is for those that don't know, I'm in Orlando, and Universal Studios Orlando does Halloween Horror Nights, and they do them on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they'll do them midweek too. But I don't typically go to the midweek ones. Every once in a while I will because the crowds are less. But then starting from next week on, we can only go on Fridays and Sundays. So
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. So, hey, I'll tell you something that was very, very scary this weekend. It was Orlando's offense. How about that? 3-0. Scared
Hey,
Nashville.
nice transition there.
Some more
Not
horror
the only.
nights
I was
taking
gonna
place
say,
in Orlando than just
yeah,
the Universal ones.
not the only thing that's scary in Orlando.
Yeah. Other than Logan. Yep. There was a.
Well, oh, and Mickey's, not so scary.
Not so scary. Well, that's not so scary.
Well,
That's
it's
like
still
me.
scary, but it's not so scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's you. Yeah, that's you. If we had to identify as Parks in October, Jordan is not so scary and Logan's terrifying.
All right. Yeah, we had some MLS action take place this weekend as we're back on the first full week of MLS action. There was no Leagues Cup, nothing like that. There was some Open Cup matches in the middle of the week. And hey, we have SKC and LAFC in the final of US Open Cup. So LAFC, get ready to lose another final later this year. So mark that down on your calendars. I saw people say when they lost to Columbus, what LAFC stood for lost another final club.
Yeah. Yes. That's
Or
accurate.
lost another final to Columbus as well. As another one I saw. So that sucks for LAFC, who's getting dunked on pretty heavily with that. But no, this is a good chance for LAFC to win a trophy. SKC, I can't see them beating LAFC. So that'll be coming up soon. But this weekend, then we had every team back in action except for one, right? As is usual with 29 teams. I can't even tell you the team that did not play as I'm looking at the thing here.
Hold on, let me do a quick roll through and I can tell you which
Oh,
one
it
it
is
is.
Sporting.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there's no Sporting listed here. Okay, so Sporting KC getting the weekend off. All right, but the action took place. Atlanta beat Charlotte 1-0. Hey, that was one of the games I highlighted, right? So there you go.
Yeah, and a
Um,
shocker too.
Cincinnati beating Montreal 4-1. Crew beating NYCFC coming from behind 4-2. Philly beating New York Red Bulls 2-0. They've extended an unbeaten streak against the Red Bulls. Orlando beating Nashville 3-0. DC United beating Toronto 3-1. Vancouver beating Austin 1-0. Miami beating Chicago 4-1 in a really crowded Soldier Field. Colorado beating Dallas 3-2. RSL beating New England 2-0. Houston beating LAFC 2-0. Portland winning that Seattle matchup that we were very excited for, and is one of the games that I made sure I watched this weekend. Portland, Seattle. Portland won that one 1-0. Minnesota beat San Jose 2-1. And St. Louis with the upset over LA Galaxy to finish the weekend yesterday 2-1. And the Portland jersey, by the way, is really nice. That whatever they were wearing to celebrate was like this maroon color jersey, had timbers and like, I don't know, cursive font that looks like a rec baseball league. I really liked it.
Yeah, it looked like beer league jerseys. I liked it a lot. So, yep. No, I thought the same thing. I was like, that's weird because when I saw the score bug, I was like, what? Why is the Timbers thing red? It's like, oh, that would be why.
Yeah. That's not
That
one of their
would
usual
definitely why.
jerseys, right? I don't remember
I don't
ranking that on the.
I don't think so. Like, I'm trying to think. Maybe it's because there are certain MLS clubs with their sponsorships and it's European clubs too. If they hit a certain amount, they can have a third jersey. But I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember them hitting that. Let's see.
Yeah,
Maybe we're just dumb and just totally blanked on it. But no, they had the rose one, right?
right.
Where it had like the
Yeah,
rose petals. So I
yeah,
think this was a celebration because it was their anniversary.
right. It looks great. Like,
It does, yeah.
I like those colors a lot. If I'm a team that's sitting in the expansion mode right now, um, one of these teams like maybe an Indianapolis or some other ones that were mentioned, Vegas and stuff like that. I'm looking at these colors going, those look good together. I'm trying to think of there's a fictional team that I'm trying to think of that has that same kind of color pattern. It's the Bad News Bears, or who is it? Now I'm just gonna blank on it.
Probably similar. Yeah, Bad News Bears had more like a yellow, really highlighted the yellow.
Yellow, yeah.
But I just
Dodgeball,
Googled it.
maybe?
It says, yeah, it's
Yeah.
average Joe's.
Yeah.
A little bit more red than maroon, but yes,
Right.
it's the inverse of
Yeah.
the
That's
average Joe's
yeah.
gym. What a movie. I love Dodgeball so much. Okay. Um it says on Adidas.com and Dick's Sporting Goods, it says replica third jersey. So I guess they were able to get a third jersey, or because it's a celebration for like their birthday or whatever, they
Mm.
allowed it. But
Would you be a fan of that for other teams? Like to
give every
have
team
like
a
an
third
alternative
jersey. What
kit?
the
Yeah.
hell? Yeah,
Yeah.
like why are we being
Yeah.
stingy with it?
And they could do like this kind of stuff, like more of a have like I always thought it would be cool, and I don't get why companies. I mean, I guess I get it because they do more templated things, but I don't get. And forever it's been baffling to me. Why not let fans submit art and then vote on it? You know how much you would sell? Like that is a clear market indicator of what jersey somebody will buy if you did that. If you
Probably a
allowed
legal
like,
thing. They probably have to
I
pay
guess,
them the
yeah, it's
thing
true.
then. And
That's
that's
true. I guess.
probably they'd rather not have to do that.
Or maybe the team creates it and have us all vote. That'd be fun. Kind of like the
Yeah,
M&Ms that they
yeah.
used to do.
Yeah, it just says third jersey.
Right.
Wanted to see if there's like an article about it, but the Clive kit in honor of legend Clive Charles. That's what it was. Okay. So, something I missed here. This was revealed on July 16th, and I guess they did debut it on July 20th. I didn't think that they had worn this yet, but it looks really great. But yeah, he played for the Timbers in the NASL era from 78 to 81. So it's honoring him. And it looks great. I really do like it. Wear this more. Oh, you know why? Because it also says he also had an impact at West Ham. So maybe they took the maroon from the West Ham color, as
No, that
well as
makes
it being
sense.
City
Yeah,
of Roses, So
that would make sense. That's yeah. What do they call that color? Claret,
yeah.
which is every single European team. I mean, English team.
Yeah, claret and cobalt is what they wear all the time, right? Or whatever. Claret and
Yeah.
light blue.
Yeah.
Okay, so forgive our ignorance, Timber fans, on the jersey, but we liked it. It looked great. 1-0, they beat Seattle, which leaves the standings in the West with Seattle in 8th, Portland in 6th. But they both have the same amount of points still, 40 points for both of these clubs, and they've both played 27 games. It really is amazing to see what can shape a narrative. At the beginning of the season, everybody was really hot on Portland. People really trashed on Seattle, right? And then it kind of started going the other way. Portland started struggling. Seattle started rising. Then it kind of goes the other way. But guess what? They have the same amount of points. They have the same amount of games played. But I feel like the perspective on the season for both of those clubs is really different. And what people think about those clubs is really different. Like I see Portland has a little disappointing at times because of the way that they've gone on such a trajectory. And then Seattle being like, oh, they're starting to overperform because they were so bad. Like but they're the exact same. They're the exact same. Now, Portland actually has 55 goals scored to Seattle's 37. But they've also given up 46 to Seattle's 32. So Portland, electric offense, really not great defense. Seattle, really great defense so far. The offense hasn't been what it should be, right? That's kind of what the tale of the season has been for them, and it's evened out to 40 points for each of them, and close to locking in a top 7 playoff spot. Seattle just outside of that right now, and Portland inside of that. And they sit above them because of the goals scored. Like, that's the tiebreaker right now. So really interesting to see how those two clubs have kind of been this season. They're rivals. Vancouver is another one that's right above them, but I feel disappointed in because they were so high in the top 3 for a good chunk of the season and cratered down to like bottom 7, and then are working their way back up there in 5th place. Like, it's been kind of just a roller coaster for the Cascadia clubs this season.
Yeah, and I think out of all of them, I think honestly, we probably had higher hopes for Vancouver, especially with the way they started the season in CONCACAF Champions Cup. And I thought they played really well. I think it was Tigres that they had, or Club America, one of them. I can't remember who it was that they started with, but it was a real decent showing. And then, they, like you said, they started out and had been in the mix at the top of the Western Conference. There's another team in the Western Conference that we'll get to that kind of had that same. I mean, I think the one that is not to be named yet has a bigger fallout right now. But I would say that Vancouver was probably the highest on the list. And then, we had Portland and Seattle kind of in that mix of, and maybe Portland even worse because we didn't really know how Phil Neville would do as the lead man there. And, Portland's been pretty decent this year. I think as time has gone on, they've really started to kind of find their footing. They did this without Rodriguez and Felipe Mora. So, yeah, I think this is a good win for Portland against a Seattle team that also was starting to play really well and have been on a string of wins for quite some time. One of the hotter teams in the Western Conference. So Portland and Seattle, maybe, Jordan, are the hottest teams in the Western Conference right now, and they go head to head. And I think it played out kind of like that. Portland had the home field advantage, and it felt like it. So, yeah.
So Seattle, rough week. They lose to LAFC in the Open Cup semifinals, and they lose to Portland. So that's 2 of their rivals, really. LAFC's kind of become a rival for them with, how much they've kind of been going back and forth near the top of the West for a bit. But there you go. Minnesota bouncing back and getting a win against San Jose, keeping them in a playoff spot. They're in 9th place. They have 36 points. They've been a club that's kind of been, I would say, the biggest disappointment for me this season because they were like the definition of starting hot and then have absolutely cratered. And they were actually doing better without a manager, Minnesota. And
yeah, it was like Eric Ramsey showed up. and honestly, he did pretty well when he first got here too. And then all of a sudden,
first 2 games,
it just went absolutely south. And I don't know, Jordan, if there's a more predictable sports franchise city than Minnesota.
Yeah, in any sport. You're like, well, they're going to do all right, then they're going to end up not winning at all. Like that's kind of the Minnesota thing.
Yeah, or the years that they're really good and then they just absolutely choke it away.
Yes.
Like the Timberwolves, really good, but just
we can ask Jack about it. We could get him on, and
I'm sure he wants to talk about all of the Minnesota collapses in all of sports because it's every single one. The Vikings, when they start well,
their women's sports do very well. They actually win.
That's good.
It seems to be a men's curse for
like it's 100% without fail. The Twins will win their division all the time. The Vikings always compete in their division, and they always look like, all right, here we go, finally building something. And then all of a sudden, it's just an epic collapse. And it's usually in the playoffs. It's usually just like this big choke job in the playoffs. So, Timberwolves.
They had won 6. They had lost 6 in a row from June 16th to July 8th. Then they had a draw and then they lost another game. So they were winless in 8 for a month and about a month.
Yeah.
Winless in 8. Uh, win a game right before. Hold on, they win a game right before Leagues Cup. Okay, against San Jose. Then they come back from Leagues Cup, lose to Seattle, who they lost to in the Leagues Cup as well. And then win against San Jose. They're like trying to get right against San Jose every time. They're like, all right, guys, that sucked. But thankfully, we play San Jose. Now, if we can get this win, we can maybe set right everything. But it doesn't always happen that way. As like I said, they did it right before Leagues Cup. They went in winning, get the Leagues Cup, crash out, right, lose. Then they go ahead, come back, lose, and then beat San Jose, this time on the road. Did they play San Jose 3 times this year? No, just the twice. I know some teams they play 3, right? So they've played twice, and both of them within the span of a month, and they win both of those games against San Jose. So San Jose, and we're talking about like bottom of MLS at this point. I think last week we said they're pretty for certain to win the Wooden Spoon. I mean, they're 9 points off of the next team, which would be Nashville, who's now at the bottom of the East. Man, Nashville. They had fired Gary Smith, kind of turned it around for a bit, and then have cratered again. They just relied too much on Hani Mukhtar.
It was funny. We were standing in line following the game, Matt and I, and Matt's our more casual MLS fan. He likes watching Orlando City and following them some. It was funny because he goes, "Man, they're beating Nashville like 3-0. That's got to be good, right?" And I was like, "No, like Nashville's been awful
in previous years. That would be
yeah.
good."
And he goes, "Wait, they were good last year." I'm like, MLS is on its head. Like, you could be one of the best teams in MLS one year and be an absolutely bomb the next year. So it welcome to the I guess the complexity of the league, the parity, it's just there's just so much to it that you just MLS. That's why I like this league. It's so unpredictable.
Yes, but let's talk about the predictable. Miami beating Chicago Fire 4-1 as Miami continues their trek to a Supporters Shield and number 1 seed in the MLS playoffs in the East. They have 59 points. That's 7 points above LA Galaxy. And LA Galaxy's played one more game than them. So we're at a point now where they have played 27 and Galaxy have played 28. So they have 7 games left, Miami. And they have 7 points up on the nearest Supporter Shield challenger. It's looking more and more likely that they're going to lock in here and win the Supporter Shield. As even without Messi, you have Luis Suarez, who everybody thought was going to come here. I was optimistic about Luis Suarez coming in here, but there's a lot of people that were like, he won't even be able to run. And he's
Right.
like scoring goals, assisting goals, having a bunch of fun. Like, Luis Suarez is just doing, and I don't think he gets enough credit for that. People then kind of just say, oh yeah, but he's Luis Suarez. And it's like, you all thought he couldn't even walk anymore. And you're like, this is a terrible signing. And he's turning out to be a really great signing for them and helping this team when they don't even have Messi, winning 4-1, right? Getting big wins that they needed to keep pace here as he scores 2 goals in the 46th and 65th minute. He just helps this team keep chugging along.
Yeah, you and I were in the belief of he would destroy
Yes.
this league, and here he is. So if you guys would like to meet every Wednesday, we'll probably just start a chat 8 p.m. You guys can jump into some therapy. Luis Suarez has dunked on my team. I guess team therapy. We'll meet every 8 o'clock every Wednesday. We'll have some cookies and milk and stuff like that. But yeah, it is funny, isn't it? People always do this to players that and I get it. He's got a story that people, they tend to not like him. So they want to root against him. But at the end of the day, everywhere he's gone, it has not mattered. He has played as many games as some of the best players in this game around the world. And Jordan's proven to be one of the best players in the game around the world. There was a time where he was playing for Liverpool and in Barcelona where he was considered one of the top goal scorers and attacking threats in the whole world. So
Even
here he is
before
doing
that,
it.
when he was at Liverpool, it was really
Yeah.
like when he was, I guess, really making a name for himself there, and was
And
really
biting
tearing it up
people.
there and biting people. Yeah, he did that too.
He does it all. Yeah, he does it
Yeah.
all. Very versatile.
He's got 16 goals, dude, and 5 assists. Okay? In
Yeah.
16 games started and
I was
20
gonna
games
say,
played.
and he
Like,
hasn't even started on all of them. A goal
he
per
is
game.
one he is one goal away from being in the lead.
Yeah.
All right? You have Chicho Arango, Benteke, both with 17, then Bawanga and Suarez with 16. And Gazdag with 14. That's a little sneaky Daniel Gazdag there. And Musa.
Mhm.
Musa with 14. Let's look at his minutes. What's his minutes? Luis Suarez has only played 1441 minutes, which is the least in that list of the top goal scorers. So he's doing it with less games started, 16, all right? The next least is 22 with Chicho Arango. Okay? He's done it in 1441 minutes compared to Chicho Arango, who's got 1899, Benteke with 1993, Bawanga with 2233, Gazdag with 1950, Musa with 1864. I mean, he's got by 500 minutes. That's a couple games, that he has done less. He's only played 20 games. Some of them have played 24, 23, 25. He's got 16 goals. I ask of you, Logan, is there any shot Luis Suarez can win MVP? Or is the assist not really there for him? Like, what is it that, like, can he win? Because Arango has 11 assists with 17 goals. But, like, is there any possibility, just from how many minutes he's played, how least goals he scored, how many goals he scored compared to everybody else in that least amount of time?
I mean, I would throw Ty Baribo in here at this point. He might catch all of them, but the way
He
he's
might.
playing, no, I'm kidding. But I, I I would put him second up against. Well, this is tough because I do feel like we're still in this era in MLS where we look at stats and stats only. So, like, I think a clear winner is going to be Chicho, but I
I got another really amazing stat here. Luis Suarez has 16 goals in 54 scoring attempts.
that's
Okay.
incredible.
Arango has 99 scoring attempts. Benteke 74. Bawanga 126. I don't know how they score those, but I mean, again, he's done it in way less scoring attempts even. And on target scoring attempts is 40, which is about okay. That shows how much quality he is as well. Really, when you have 40 shots on target, right, for scoring attempts to 54, when you have players like Arango having 99 and then having 40 on target, so same amount of on target, but way more shots to get there. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't think Suarez is going to have an opportunity for MVP. I just wanted to kind of highlight that he is just totally outperforming what most people thought he was going to do, and that you and I were believers. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Chicho's hurt. Benteke will typically slow down. I don't know. Like, this is the first year, Jordan. I'm looking at the names that would typically be in the mix. I mean, Cucho's going to be in the mix. I think people don't realize he's got 13 goals and 10 assists.
Yes, 13.
And
Yep.
he's sneaky. He could grab 3 goals real quickly. And I think Columbus has games in hand, right? From what I remember, I think they've got quite a few.
Yeah, because he's only played 20 as well. Chicho.
They got 2 games in hand.
Chucho.
Yeah.
They've got 2 games in hand of Miami, 3 games in hand of the team with the most games played.
Yeah. And all it will take will be a brace or a hat trick, and he is fully
Yep.
capable of doing that. Chicho's hurt, so that could hinder his. Benteke, there's moments where this seems pretty reasonable for Christian Benteke. There could be this stretch now where I just don't see him getting 20 goals with the way that DC's played. And Denny Bouanga, he's going to have to now share some time with Olivier Giroud and scoring goals. Luis Suarez, yeah, I mean, Jordan, I think honestly, he's kind of on the out, right? But I think that's so hard because Miami's easily the best team, and
And
you would want to give it to their best
here
player, and he's
here's
their
an
best player.
yeah, exactly. Here's another thing I would say about for Luis Suarez is like I said, he's helping really keep them afloat without
Yes.
their main man. And that is, I think, very tempting for voters to be like, oh, they didn't even miss a beat without Messi because Suarez stepped up and was scoring and assisting goals, and they were still just absolutely trucking players, teams to get to the supporter shield. So
Do we vote for this?
I don't think so. I don't think we have votes for this.
Dang,
I know.
that'd be fun
We
if it
do
did.
player of the match day.
If we were like a majority of, like it was like we get like we all of us writers we get one vote, so whoever wins the most, like however many
Yes,
like
yeah.
the Writers Association candidate is going to be, or we vote for, and we have like here's our number 1, 2, and 3.
That's
That'd
a
be
good
cool.
question. Maybe we'll hear something about it. I don't think we do, but that'd be great. I don't know if I'd give my vote to him though. I think
If you had to
depends.
cast your vote, who would it be right now?
That's tough because I probably right now would be Arango, but like you said, he's injured. How long is he
They've
going to
not
be
been as
out
good.
for?
Yeah.
And then will anybody overtake him? Right? 17 goals, 11 assists is pretty darn good. Pretty darn good, right?
Yeah.
Um, it's tough. I think if I had, I don't know, I'd have to look at more than just the goal stats. I guess I'd have to look at who has a lot of assists as well, because sometimes this is the sexy pick. Lucho Acosta is a very good shout here, right? 18 assists, 11 goals. That's a lot of goal contributions that he is giving to his team. Evander would be in the conversation. But I think if you're looking at it, what we usually see is that the winner of MVP is a person on the Supporter Shield winner.
Yeah.
And if I'm picking a Miami player, it's Luis Suarez
Right.
without Messi. Messi still has 13 assists and 12 goals, though. And he hasn't played in a bit. He's played 12 games. I can't give Messi it because of 12. He's only played 12, but his stats are very close to players that have played 20 some games, right? Like that's tough. That's really tough. It probably
Would they just give it to Lucha because he's the reigning and he's done?
That'd be interesting too, because only one player's had multiple MVPs, right? Preki. So that is.
And Cincinnati's been awful lately.
They have, but they are still up there challenging. Like, could this be the season that kind of breaks that MVP is on a Supporter Shield winner run that we've had? I think this could be the season that does change.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's so difficult because, I mean, you're looking at it, and the only one that's anywhere close, I think, to Supporter Shield runner-up would be the LA Galaxy. But they've already got, I mean, Miami feels like they're just going to run away with it at this point. So unless something crazy happens, Miami's going to win.
Columbus can get there too with their games in hand.
Yeah,
if
that's
they
true.
win both of those, they will add 6 points. They will have 50.
They'll be trailing
55 points. They'll be trailing by 4. And you can't put it past Columbus to pick up those 4 points somewhere, right? Like, then you are looking at, oh, is it Chucho, right? Is it, I don't know. It's a very tough season this year, I think, when we're looking at that. I don't think it's going to be a Supporter Shield winner getting MVP. But maybe we're foreshadowing this. And we come back at the end and it is Luis Suarez. And we're like, well,
it's
September 2nd, they were saying that that's a possibility.
And it's funny because, like, if I had to pick anybody in the league that would score 3 or 4 goals at some point and do it maybe twice, it'd be Suarez. Like, there are moments where he could just all of a sudden he drops 4 goals and we're not even talking about it anymore. Because if he drops 4 goals or 3, and then he starts to really separate himself, he's pretty much carried this team without Messi. Yeah, man, this might be the and people are gonna give Lucho a shout, but just the way that
Yeah.
since he's kind of fallen off here at the end, I don't think that helps his case any.
I mean, yeah, we're looking at, if you look at the stats, right? Miami has 62 goals scored. Nobody's close to that. LA Galaxy 53, RSL 53, Colorado 53 goals scored. Portland 55, but they're not in the top. Columbus has 52. Since he's only scored 48,
That's insane.
you know?
60.
And
That would be way more too if he was around.
Miami has fixed their defense. I feel like a lot of people still think that
Yes.
that is a weakness. They've given up 40, which is a lot in the top 4, but there are teams that have given up a lot more than that this season. And hell, Colorado's given up 45, and they are in the top 4 of the West, right? So,
And Galaxy's right behind Miami. They've got, 2 goals that I
oh yeah,
think they
38, yeah.
yeah.
So it's close enough. It's been an improvement from last year for sure when we're talking about goals
Right.
given up, and even from kind of the beginning of the season, I think, or later parts of the season where it seemed like they started giving up goals again, and we're like, if they can just sort out this defense, they've been doing that. I feel. I mean, their form guide, what's the most goals they've given up? Is 6 against Cincinnati on July 6th. That was the most they've given up all season, and it was the most that they had given up recently. They're giving up about one goal a game since July. If you take out the Cincinnati game.
Yeah.
Since June 15th. Each team, they've given up 1 goal or 0 goals, except for the Cincinnati game on July 6th, where they gave up 6. St. Louis, they drew 3-3 against, and that was on June 1st. And they gave up 3 against Atlanta on May 26th. That was their worst stretch, was a draw and a loss against Atlanta and St. Louis, where they gave up 6 goals in 2 games. Other than that, they've been not giving up as many goals.
Here's a real loaded question for you. Is Miami the best team in the league because they have the most points and they're doing it without Lionel Messi? Or is Columbus quietly the best team in the league because they have the best defense? They've got 2 games in hand and are chasing down Miami at a clip that it seems like they might be the second hottest team in the league besides a Miami team that's not been as hot, but definitely wins games. Like it's a weird, I don't know. It feels weird, like calling Miami the best team in the league because yes, they've got more points, but I think collected a ton of those early on and kept that going and have sustained. But I feel like Columbus is on this tear where I wouldn't want them. Nobody in this league can beat.
We talked about that last week, right? Like they're the team I wouldn't want to face in the playoffs. I think the question becomes this, Logan. I think best team in the league in a league format this season, Inter Miami.
Yeah.
Right? The best team that wins competitions, Columbus Crew. Right? They win it all last year. They win Leagues Cup this year. I wouldn't put it past them winning it all again this year. It's definitely something to think about here when it comes to. It depends on your definition of what is a really good team. I mean, Columbus Crew even got to the final of the CCC this year and lost to Pachuca. Like, they've done it in so many competitions, and it seems like that's their format is let's go ahead and just win the cups. And guess what? Those are the ones that we put more importance on than the Supporters Shield. So at the end of the day, if Miami wins the Supporters Shield and that's all they get this year, there will be a disappointment, I think. And people will say the best team was blank, the MLS Cup winner. Because that's kind of just the format we use over here. And I just think it also depends on when you're asking. Beginning of the season, I would have said Miami is the best team in the league and have a really good shot of winning MLS Cup. Now they get an injury to Messi.
Yeah.
But they keep on rolling. But now I would say the best team is the Crew. Watch out for the Crew. And that's kind of when you want to be peaking anyway. We are close to the end of the
Yeah.
season.
7 games, 8 games
Yeah.
roughly. And then you look at this, Jordan. This is tough for Cincinnati. They're down 2 of their best defenders. You've got a team that really struggling to score at a really high clip. Where Miami, because like people would go, well, don't discount Cincinnati. They're in between Inter Miami and Columbus. But I actually think Cincinnati, the way that they've been trending, I don't know. Like they are a team. Like if I'm one of the teams that I guess won't get home field advantage, they're the team I'd want to draw against. Like they're the team I'd be like, okay, like not ideal, but if I'm going to pick a team in this top 4 of the Eastern Conference, I think I would start to lean more towards Cincinnati right now, just because with their defense, the way that it's playing, with the consistency of the offense, at times being a question of like, can they keep it going? If Lucho Acosta's shut down, then what does Cincinnati really offer? People go, well, what about Red Bull? Are they one of the weaker ones? I think they're pretty comparable right now between Cincinnati and New York. But I also think that there's 2 teams below them that are getting really hot at the right time, like you said, and NYCFC and Orlando. So it's like it's becoming a dangerous slope for Cincinnati, because I still think they're right now, they're not even a top 3 team in the Eastern Conference, because I would give New York or Orlando an advantage just because of how well they've been playing as of late. Um, I just feel like I don't know. I feel like I'm Cincinnati, be a little bit more concerned. I guess New York's not been playing as well, but Orlando's been
Yeah.
hot. Um, kind
They
of
have.
looking at
Yeah.
it, but Orlando had or NYCFC had a stretch early on where they were playing well, and that's kind of kept them afloat. But a lot of draws lately, which I guess maybe isn't.
Orlando
But
in 7th.
yeah,
4-point lead on Toronto right now, which is good because you need that going into being not in the wild card. So they're looking in good shape there, but they're only actually 2 points away from 5th, right? So they have some maneuverability here. I want to ask you this question real quick. Going back to Supporter Shield, Miami 59 points. Okay, the record is 73 by the Revs. They have 7 games left. 7 times 3 is 21 points. They can get a max of 80. Do they break the point record this season? Or do they fall a little short?
all right. So I'm looking at the end of their schedule. They've got the next
Philly.
7 games are at Philly, or no, sorry, at home against Philly, at Atlanta, at NYCFC, against Charlotte at home, at Columbus, at Toronto, and then they host New England. Jordan, I'm going to go with yes. I'm going to say they break it because I think they'll
Good
beat
chance.
Philly at home. I think they beat Atlanta on the road. I think the New York City one's a little bit of a toss up.
Yeah.
I believe they'll beat Charlotte at home. I think Columbus at that point, it would be very tough, but maybe that's a draw. Like that's one of those big games you get real hyped for and ends up just kind of falling flat. I could see
Yeah.
that one. So, but yeah, if you collect 1 point there, I think they can beat Toronto and beat New. Yeah, I think it's more than. And then if Messi comes back because he's starting to train again,
Yeah.
then I would even give them the advantage over Columbus, even if Messi's back.
But do you play him? You're in the playoffs. Do
That's a
you
good
just
point.
wait until
And you'd be clear of all those teams probably.
because you
That's a
give
good
him
point.
another month? October 19th is the
That's a
decision
really
date.
good
Do you
point.
just give him another month and say, just keep training? I'm not risking you. We've
Yeah,
got the Supporter Shield almost locked up. Let's just wait until and get you on the field in the playoffs.
that makes sense. And Tata's very good at doing that. And what if it's not broke, don't fix it kind of thing, where it's not broken. It's actually, I mean, it's steamrolling people still. They've won 8 of their last 9 games. Like, yeah, I think you're right. I think that's a good point. They won't rush him at all, especially because the next 4 games are very winnable games.
Yep.
That Columbus game would be the one I'd pinpoint if Columbus is starting to catch up and somehow
Yeah.
Miami's kind of lost ground, or they're still in that like 3 to 4 range, like because now then Columbus will have caught up in points. Then like if you're 3 or 4 points, then I don't think you try to tempt that, because then Columbus, the end of their season, they're winnable games too. So then you really get into like this. You've got to win those last 3 games if you're Miami, and
Mm-hmm.
you have Columbus, who you don't want any part of it this time of year, because they are the reigning champions. They are the league champions. Like, they'll just continue that going forward. And you want to, Jordan, we're in for like a Goliath versus Goliath, I think, on both
Yeah.
conferences. Like, I think we are in for a real treat because we have probably four of the best teams that MLS has seen in quite some time.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I think these playoffs can be really good. You know, it would be even
Yes.
better if they didn't have the best of three, right? Like
Yeah,
I
I was just
think
thinking that too.
it's gonna
Yes,
take the sting out
it
of these
will,
matchups for a bit, and it's gonna suck. But I
because
think,
the first round is going to be great games because even the teams in the bottom half are playing pretty well. So it's
yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I think if Miami wasn't as close to the Supporter Shield, or if they were on the fringe of the playoffs and Messi's coming back, they'd be like, get in there and play. But with them already qualified and most likely going to lock up Supporter Shield in the next couple weeks, it's a wait and see for me. It's we'll use you in the playoffs, dude. Just keep training. You get another 4 weeks, 6 weeks of training before, and maybe we put you out there on decision day for 45 minutes to get you some more actual game time before the playoffs. But I'm not risking Messi going out there and re-injuring himself when I have this thing almost for sure locked up. Like, that's not happening if I'm Tata.
if you go by their points per game, Jordan, they just beat the record.
Yeah,
Like,
so they are on
they
pace,
just
right?
beat it. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's wild.
they're on pace. They're a very consistent team. Their home record is 9-2-3. Their away record's 9-2-2. Like, they are as consistent as you can be, I think, in this league, Miami. And you know what? They actually get a weekend off. Like, if we're looking ahead right now to what the schedule is coming up, there's only 6 games. That's 12 teams playing on this weekend, because we do have the international matches coming up, the
Mhm.
friendlies, which, people got a little scared by U.S. Soccer's tweet today about who's going to be the interim manager, and it said, like, as we still search for a manager. That is because, of course, it is not official with Pochettino. The contract's not signed because of what they have to work out with Chelsea. So I'm not too concerned about that, but they posted this tweet yesterday with the search of a new head coach continuing. Mikey Varez will serve as interim head coach.
Yeah,
Um,
and they still want to
so
give Chelsea they'll still want to give Chelsea the scare down of, like, we don't want to pay you that much money to get him off that contract. So you're still going to have them playing politics of them, like, we're still searching, because they're not going to come out and
yeah,
straight.
yeah, yeah.
Why Pochettino's of the, and I'm pretty sure they can't even do that with the contract because they could get sued for it. So
Yeah, because he needs to either have some resolution with that, because he needs to the main thing is he can't get paid by Chelsea and also have a new contract. So once he
yeah,
would sign with the US Soccer, it would void his Chelsea contract. So he needs to find out how to get that money he wants, and it's either Chelsea paying him or US Soccer's sponsor stepping up and paying him some of that stuff to keep him happy. And that's the stuff that they're working on right now. So
just offer them an American goalkeeper. They'll give him
yeah,
up.
oh yeah,
All right,
Chelsea, come on down,
a
right?
19-year-old striker from the U.S. Hell yeah, sign us up.
So there's only 6 games. Columbus and Seattle at 7:30 on Saturday. New England, St. Louis, Red Bulls, SKC, and then at 8:30 Chicago, DC, Houston, LAFC, and then at 10:30 Vancouver and Dallas. This is kind of what MLS used to be like when we only had 12
Yeah,
teams. So this would
yeah.
be our
This is
weekend
like,
action. This is
ooh,
crazy.
action packed, baby. Oh man.
Yeah. Um so we'll see. Any big I think if I had to pick a game right now, it's Columbus Seattle. I think
Yeah.
is the most interesting of
Yeah,
those
and I'm
matches.
glad it's at 7:30. I'm glad it's at lower.com. Jordan,
Yeah, that
did
it's
you
in the East
realize
Coast. Yeah.
that Wilfred Nancy has only lost 2 games at home since his reign of terror? I think I think they've got almost a 70
It's
goal
crazy.
differential at home or something crazy. Like, it's insane, the numbers. I think they've won like 30 some odd games at home since he's taken over.
That's insane. That's pretty
Yeah,
good stats.
it's pretty wild.
Yeah, Columbus Seattle, pretty good matchup. Uh a secondary matchup, is another one standing out to you at all that you're like, oh, this one maybe Houston LAFC or like, but
Well, I
yeah.
will. I think, yeah. I mean, Houston, LAFC, just because I think Houston's playing a little bit better. I think they could sneak in. But honestly, if I'm looking at this and I'm looking at teams that, maybe didn't start too well, but still have a shot at the playoffs, I really do think Dallas is getting healthier.
Mm-hmm.
And you look
Moose
at
is
their
scoring goals, right?
right, you look at their form. They've won 3 of their last 5. They're right on the cusp. They can chase down some of those teams in the Western Conference, especially especially if you got Minnesota in front of you. Anything's possible. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah,
Here's the bad side for them. Of their remaining 8 games, 4 of them, or how many games they got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Of the remaining 7, they have 4 on the road,
that's true.
and their road record is 1, 8, and 4,
Yeah, so that'll be very difficult.
and they're 3 points back. That'll be really tough for them. Their home record's great, 8, 4, and 2. Like there you go. -1 goal differential. That's in line with Minnesota. Actually, they have the same amount of goals and same amount of goals against as Minnesota. But Minnesota has 5, 5, and 4, and 5, 6, and 2 as their home and away records. So they're a little bit more balanced than Dallas. At Dallas, it's like, hey, if you play them at home, they're probably going to win or draw you. If you play them on the road, they're going to either draw or lose. They're not winning on the road, and they're going to need to pick up some wins on the road. So I'm a little bit more down on Dallas, but yeah, if they turn it around, if you look at their form guide, right, they are way more wins in the back half of the season than the first half of the season, right? They started out the season with 1 win. And then that was on February 25th. They didn't get their next win until April 21st, almost 2 months later. Then they got another win against on 5/12. The next win didn't come until a month later in June. Since then, since June 16th, they have won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games. And before that, they had 3 wins. So they've more than doubled their wins in the back half of the season in the last 2 months. So that's what they will need to do. But again, only one of those came on the road, and that was at DC. And that was that game that finished 4-3. They almost didn't win that game. Where else they would have no road wins, which would be a crazy stat for a playoff team. At that point, if you're the wild card team and you finish in the bottom of the wild card and you have to go on the road, you're like, and you haven't won a road game all year, it's like, forget it. We're not even going to show up to that wild card game.
Right.
And they have a tough season to finish out, too. They have Vancouver, RSL, LAFC, Orlando, San Jose, Portland, SKC. 2 of those games, San Jose and SKC, are on the more winnable side. The rest of them are really tough matchups for them.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we do so if I gave you these 4 teams, because these are the teams I still consider to be somewhat there and ready that they could make the playoffs. There's 2 in the East and 2 in the West. Philadelphia and DC are out right now, 10 and 11. Philly 30 points behind Atlanta's 31, and DC 29 points. They all have the same amount of games played. And then in the Western Conference, you've got Austin and Dallas. Austin has 34 points, trailing Minnesota's 36. They all have the same game in hands. Dallas as well, 33 points with 27. Who's the most likely right now, do you feel? And I know this might sound homerish, but is there a team outside of Philly that you really give a shot to make the playoffs?
Yeah. That's tough because I would say I think Philly has the best shot in the East.
Yeah.
Right? They've started to be playing better. Andre Blake's back. Everybody's a little happier. They have Ty Baribo scoring goals. They have a positive goal differential. Toronto doesn't. Atlanta doesn't. And none of the rest of the teams below them have positive goal differentials.
Yeah.
So there's like, okay, if they can just continue to fix the defense, which has been getting fixed since Blake has come back, yeah, they have a shot. They're only 1 point back. They can get into a wild card spot. I do believe they should. Now, I think DC has a shot. With the way Benteke scores for them, I think they have a shot. They were just bottom of the league last week or whatever, right? They are now 11th place, 2 points back of a playoff spot, but a negative 14 goal differential. They just give up too many goals for me.
Yeah.
But Benteke has like 16 or 17 of their 41 goals. So that is like, if he continues being hot and scoring multiple goals a game like he does, they have a shot. On the West Coast, I think we're pretty locked in with Seattle, Minnesota. I would say maybe Austin has the better shot because they have that extra point and they don't have, I don't think, as tough as a finish to the schedule. They have Toronto, LAFC, Houston, RSL, Portland, LA, and Colorado. Actually, they have equal
Yeah.
as tough.
Yeah.
So maybe I give the edge to Dallas because Dallas's goal differential is -1 compared to Austin's -8. But what scares me about Dallas, like I said, is their away wins are 1. They have 1 away win, and they have 4 away games out of their last 7. I might give the edge to Austin there, but I think we're pretty locked in with Seattle, Minnesota.
And anytime I think about this too, it's like, and it's not just because you're a Union fan and I lean more favorable to them. They are a team that, and again, it's funny how similar they and DC's season has gone. I mean, they've been pretty identical the last couple of months. And if you look at Philly's schedule to end, it is brutal. It's at Miami, at NYCFC, and then they host DC and Atlanta, and then they have to travel to Orlando, who's been really hot at home. Columbus has been great at home and never loses or really drops points, and then they have to play Cincinnati back at their place. Like, that is a brutal and gauntlet of a schedule. But that being said, Jordan, like, they're a team that you look at them and you think, like, they might be a 9 seed going in because I think that's the highest they'll achieve, but it takes just them getting past that, and then they can be a problem. Like, I just I don't know. Like, I just, the way they've been playing, the way they played in Leagues Cup, the way that they've got veteran, like, you don't want to face a team like this that's been together forever, and all of a sudden they show up in the playoffs with you. And yeah, they're not going to be at home, but they've been a team that's been able to challenge teams on the road. So I don't know. I just feel like they just won in Red Bull, and that's really hard to do. So
Yeah, I was gonna say if you're a Philly fan, you probably want to be in that 8th spot to have the home game. But if you look at
right.
their records, 3 wins at home, 4 wins on the road.
Yeah.
Maybe you take that 9th
Yeah.
spot and go up
Maybe
against
the Road
Toronto on the
Warriors.
road
Yeah.
and win that game.
Imagine Philly's run to their next MLS Cup appearance, for the final appearances as a Road Warrior. Just
I would
going
take it.
through
I
these teams.
love that.
Yeah.
Like,
Playing spoiler
there
at home.
was every time the Ravens have won the Super Bowl, it has been
Been
where
a
they're
lower
on the
seed.
road like the
Yeah.
whole time. And you know what? You keep, as a fan of a team like that, you're always just like, hey, they keep counting us out because we're the road team. But we're going to go out there and we're going to win this game. And you keep doing it. And
Yeah.
then you feel like invincible at the final.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like, but if you're the home team the whole time and you're like, oh, we're not at home though. Like, how much during the 2022 MLS Cup final where we're like, oh, if we would have just had this game at home. It's like, no, go win it on the road. That's what I
Yeah.
want them to do this year.
Yeah. The only thing that would speak different to that is last year every single top seed won. So
Yeah, well,
we'll see. Philly's the team
rules.
that I wouldn't want. Philly and Orlando right now. I mean, that might sound homerish because we're both Philly and Orlando fans, but like,
As
Orlando's
Philly
been
and
really
Orlando
good.
fans, Philly and Orlando, 2 teams you don't want to see right now.
Watch them. You've got to watch them. Well,
Earlier
Atlanta and Toronto. I'll give Toronto that same.
Earlier in the season, you didn't want to watch them or see them
No,
because
you
of how
didn't.
bad they were playing.
Right.
Right now, you don't want to see them
Firing on all
because they're playing
cylinders,
well. Yeah.
baby. Yeah. Although Columbus Crew would probably smash us in. So.
Yes. Yeah. That's like, look, conceivably, the road stops in Columbus. If you're on that road warrior path, you're like, damn, like, this is where it ends. No, it's we'll see how it goes. Philly has I think a pretty tough finish to the end of the season as well. Miami, NYCFC, DC, Atlanta, Orlando, Columbus, Cincinnati. Those are all teams in or right at the playoff line. Like, that is a pretty tough finish. And 4 of those on the road, which for them might be good. Okay, anything else before we wrap it up? Anything we didn't get the chance to discuss?
I don't think so. I'm
The
just looking
West
for.
stayed stagnant pretty much.
Yeah.
52, 47, 47, 44. Like none of that really changed.
Right. I think, as we look into what is coming, Jordan, 7 to 8 games left. We've hit September. This is
Yeah.
it. Like this is what they call that final stretch. This is when teams make or break their season. That last season, or that.
Unfortunately for Philly, it's called the home stretch.
Right. Yes. If they called it the away stretch,
It
they'd
might
be
be good.
solid. Orlando's really happy. They're like, all right,
Yeah,
finally.
we're
They
at
could
home.
win.
Yeah.
I think we just switched DNA because we couldn't win at home to save our lives last year. But yeah, Jordan, this is it. That last week, I'd honestly say the last 2 weeks are decision weeks. Like those are the weeks that really matter. So you really only got this short window right now, unless you're the Crew. You got like 20 games left still. But yeah, like when you've got 5 to 6 weeks where you really like this is it until you get to those last 2 weeks, like this is when it really starts to ramp up. And again, I can't wait. I can't wait till we have 30 teams because I hope they get rid of this stupid 3 game series. Like it's the worst thing I think in sports is just randomly throwing in the. It would be like throwing in. This would be comparable to throwing in like a 9 game series in MLB. Like let's just throw one in there for fun, huh? So this is just brutal. Like imagine NFL did that. They're like, all right, we're gonna play 3 games in the first round. That'd be fun. So it's just awful.
Soccer's in this weird spot where they have not as many games as the rest of the sports.
Yeah.
Hockey, NBA, baseball, right? But they're closer to NFL on that, but then they're trying to do playoff formats that are almost similar to NBA and
Yes.
NHL and baseball.
Yep.
When
Where
they should be
teams
they
need
should be doing
NFL break.
NFL style
Yep.
of one-offs or 2 legs,
Yep.
not 3.
Because soccer and it's been shown like so. I mean, obviously it's harder to recuperate, recoup
It's
after
the most
soccer,
exhausting
yeah, and
sport. I
football.
mean, if
Yep.
you look at those players, they are running for 90 plus minutes
Yep.
nonstop. There's no commercial breaks. There's no timeouts. Unless if it's over like 90 degrees, right? Then they do the
Mhm.
cooling break. But I mean, like you're go 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 go, and they are playing an insane amount of because it's not just the league games. You have Leagues Cup, you have the Open Cup, you have international duty. Like these players are playing a lot, right? They are playing a lot, and
Year round.
yeah, and NFL is trying to emulate that now. They keep talking about adding more games and more weeks, and it's like no, just keep it how it is.
Yeah.
Like sometimes everything is perfect the way it is, and then we start tinkering with stuff,
Yeah.
and it makes it worse.
I will say
Kind of what
NFL's
we see with the playoff style.
yeah NFL season is shorter than all of them, and it's
Yeah, but it's
it
such a
is a
brutal
longer.
game.
It is, yeah, and they need it. No, I totally
Yeah,
agree with it, but it would suck.
because I know they're talking about adding another week and then adding
Yes.
another bye for it, and it's
Yep.
like that is
Yep.
no. I don't. We don't need 18 games. 16
Right.
was perfect. I don't like having 17 games. I don't like 16 weeks was perfect.
Yeah, it does feel like it's an extra week longer too. Like it is obviously,
Yeah.
but it does feel it. Like you do feel it. You're like, gosh, this seems like it's going on forever now. Like,
At a certain point, they'll be playing until Easter, and the Super Bowl will be at Easter, and you're like,
right.
what? This
Yep.
is too long.
Yep.
And the players will be
They'll
absolutely
be
broken.
yeah. The Super Bowl will be without pads. It's going to be like
Like
touch
football or
yeah,
something?
flag football or touch football.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's wrap it up here. Thank you all for watching and listening along. Just wanted to plug some stuff. We don't really plug a lot of our other work lately, but Logan's been doing great work over at We Met Behind the Council for his Disney coverage and Universal Studios coverage. So make sure you check that out. I was on there for D23 stuff, and he's constantly putting out videos almost every day.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Don't know how you do it, but he's doing it. It's great. So make sure you check that out. We are almost wrapping up our chronological Clone Wars watch on September 13th over on the Pod Awakens, where we talk Star Wars. Logan's first time watching Clone Wars, my first time in chronological order, and my second watch total. And we are wrapping it up on September 13th. So make sure that you follow that at Pod Awakens. We'll be starting our Agatha All Along coverage over onto the Infinity Saga and Beyond, our Marvel podcast. And I, when people ask, Jordan, don't you have too many podcasts? And I say, yes, what's another, right? And I have started another one with my friend Ron. It's called The Fantasy Folk, where we talk all things fantasy, books, movies, games, television shows, all stuff like that. And we are going to be covering Rings of Power, the Lord of the Rings Amazon series over there. But we'll also be talking Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, the new spinoff, A Night of Seven Kingdoms over there. So just check all that stuff out. You can find most of that stuff on our YouTube channel. If you're watching on the YouTube, there's links at the bottom that has all of our other stuff in case if you can't remember what the name of it was. It's there. You can find it. Or you can probably find me or Logan on social media and follow our links there as well. But we do more than just this, but this is kind of our main show. This is the one we have a lot of passion for. Our only sports show, really, at this point. We've tried other ones, but they're exhausting. But we love talking other stuff. We're gonna have Logan on the Fantasy Folk at some point to talk Harry Potter stuff. So if you're a Potter fan, you can check him out on that as well coming up. But just thought we'd highlight some of the other work that we're doing here on the Logjam Media Podcasting Network. Anything from you, Logan, before we go?
No, it was great. That was a lot of fun. Thank you for the shout out. So
yeah, you're welcome. Have a great rest of your week. We will catch you next time when we talk those 6 games and I guess some of the international duty. It's probably going to be a light episode next week, but that's what we'll talk about. Have a great rest of your week.